Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Paul, and I am a nerd. And you, yes, you, are lucky enough to be here in the live studio audience for the August 2016 World Docs Virtual User Group meeting. Try saying that all in one breath. I can't do it. Mary Jo certainly is excited. I sure hope you are too. Today we are talking about, it's all about expressing yourself today. How to change your fonts that appear in the World Docs lists and places, also other places. How to change the colors. How to change the button bar. How to add things, remove things. How to make World Docs look the way you want it to look. Mary Jo is going to talk about fonts and colors. I am going to talk about button bar. Without further ado, I will press all of the magic buttons, not just one of them, not just two of them, all 17 of them, and get us to where we are in World Docs so that Mary Jo can start by talking about fonts and colors.
Okay, the fun stuff. So it comes out of the box pretty basic when you have World Docs. We have changed our bookmark bar to have a yellow background. I tend to do that at client sites just so that the bookmarks stand out there. That's something that you can do, and I think we may have talked about that in a previous webinar e-bite or something, but that was one little thing that you could do. What I'm going to talk about, because as much as none of us want to admit this, we are getting older, and some of these little fonts are a little hard to read on the screen. So I don't know about you, but that's me. I'm sure it's Paul. Yep, he's going, yep. So I'm going to show you how you can make these fonts on the list bigger, the fonts on the button bar bigger, all of these different areas, because you have control over all of these different places. So there might be some places that you think, oh, I can read that just fine, but I would really wish this was bigger. So where we get into that is underneath the display bar up here on the toolbar, the little button here, and we're going to go into customize. Next, we're going to go down to colors and fonts. So let's talk first about size, because that seems to be the biggest thing that we have problems with. So fonts brings up a list of all of the different things that I can change the fonts and the size on. So first I have the dialog box, I've got the list box, the column headers, that's these up above here. So the doc ID verification list modified. We've got the tabs top, we've got the tabs bottom. So these are those little tabs at the bottom here, and there's tabs at the top up here. There are menu buttons. That's all of our buttons up here. So if we want these things to be different, I could raise that up and have the font be larger, even change the font so it's not this Calibri that's in here as a default, but it could be something else I want. There's the bookmark buttons. That's all of these here on the little yellow background that I have on there. We have the, I'm going to have a hard time even reading it on here, but the navigation panel for those horizontal tabs, the quick profile names, the quick profile cabinet. So you can see all of these different areas, the location bar, the search bar, they each have individual control settings. So what we're going to do is we're just going to start with something simple. Let's do the menu buttons. So I'm going to go onto that one, and we're just going to click edit. That brings up the list so I can change the font to whatever I want. Let's say that I want to just make this be Arial. I'll change it to that. And let's say I want it to be 11 instead of 9. That might be a little large because remember we've only got a certain amount of real estate up here, but let's see how that looks. And I can also change the color of the font up there. So if I didn't want it to be black, I wanted it to be red or green. I could change that as well. We can underline things. You can do bold. Here's the other thing that's a good thing. If you need to bold something, we could do that. And it will give you an example of what that text will look like. Narrow? Narrow bold? Yeah. Well, no bold it. All right. So let's say OK. And so this is the next thing. If you're a manager or an administrator in World Docs, you have this box here that you can say, set this just for me or set it for everyone. Now, my suggestion would be to set it only for you if you have that, because you might change it for people that really don't want you to change it. So I'm going to say OK on that. And now I have all of my buttons up there. Did you see how much they got bigger and bolder? And I can read those so much easier now. Isn't that cool? This is Paul's. I know. This is Paul's. I'm going to say he's going to really like this. So we'll leave it. So all of these different areas you can do. Let's go to the bookmark buttons. Those are pretty small as well. So let's change that one to also be that Arial bold. And maybe I don't want these to be quite as big as my menu bars at the top, but I do want these to be a little bit bigger than what they are now. So I'm going to still pick Arial. I'll pick the narrow bold, but I'm just going to make those 10. Oops, I missed my mouse moved there. There it is. Okay, let's try that. And again, only for me. I'm going to say okay. And now those are nice and bold and bright and easy to read as well. So it did take up a little bit more real estate though than maybe I have, because now I'm kind of covering up some other tabs. So you have to be careful with how big you make things. So I'm going to maybe just bold them and leave them at 9 and see how that looks. And you know, it still looks like it's covering a little bit. So you have to kind of just watch that. And when you're changing things, make sure you're changing other things to make it so that it's viewable. So the Arial narrow just might not, or the bold might not have, might not work with that particular line there. So I'm going to go ahead and take that bold off and just make it just regular narrow. And we'll try that. See how that looks. So still cover up. I don't know what I did, but we'll take it back. We'll undo it. We can undo all these. Undo that, customize that font for the bookmark buttons. We'll put it back. So maybe it's something else that I've covered up there, because now maybe I've bumped down this on the top and it's now bumped over too much. But yeah, so anyway. Yeah, let's do that. Let's just bold those. So you can see you've got so many different things that you can do just in this little bit here. So I'm going to take this back to 9, and we'll just leave it bolded. Even that just can make all the difference just by bolding it. There we go. Yeah, I just had too big of a font. It was pushing it down over the top of my email, my search button, and I don't want to do that. So you want to be careful with what you're doing and changing, that you're not covering up something else. So just watch that. But so all of these different things here, you can change and modify to make things easier for you to look at. So play with this a little bit. You can change all of these different things. This little list view here is also changeable, so you can do that. And then once you get everything at the font and the size that you want, you can close that. The other part that I want to show you is if I display, customize, I'm going to go into the font, or the colors, I'm sorry, because now all of these other areas here, you can put a color behind. So I told you we had added the yellow bar behind the bookmark button. And I'm going to try to see if I can find my bookmark button there. There it is right here, my bookmark button bar. And when I edited that, you can see I changed it to have this nice yellow color behind it. You can pick and just click on a color and it gives you this, or even if it's blank, you can pick on, click on that line and you have the whole rainbow here of colors that you can change it to. So if I wanted a different color yellow, a little different shade, I could choose that and make that the color of the bookmark bar behind there. Just depends on what I want to do. I could make it red, I can make it blue, green, whatever you want there to give you some kind of a highlight. So we'll just apply that. And again, I kept it yellow, but I could do the same thing with the button tabs. Let's do something that we can see right off the bat. Let's do the top tab for the selected ones. I believe that would be what I want. Let's try this one. So see how it's usually blank? I just click on that. I can pick a custom color. I'll just do this little light blue. Say OK. We'll say OK here. And now my little bar back here now has that little light blue back there for that all. So that's the selected one that I was on. See, I had top tab selected. If I had had the search bar selected back here and I clicked on that, that would then also be, it's whichever one is on. Yes, I'm sorry. Whichever one you are on right now, that will be blue. If I close this and I switch to the search, that one is blue. There you go. I had that backwards. So now I'm on the email, whatever I'm on, it turns blue, so I know what tab I'm on. So that's helpful too. I mean, if you're going through screens and you're looking at all these tabs and you're trying to remember back to where you want to be when you open those, that's helpful to do. So again, all of these different things for you to customize with colors or with fonts to make things easier to find. All of these different areas have their own individual settings, so you don't have to make everything colored. You can just make certain things colored. It really helps navigate a little bit easier and more efficiently. Paul?
Awesome. That's great. We won't mention any names, but we have one client. We always like to connect to her computer because it seems like every time we connect, there's a whole new cacophony of color and different fonts that are totally different than what she had the time before. I am going to talk about customizing the button bar itself. So I'm going to move my GoToWebinar control panel out of the way, and I'm going to talk about this here. Now, these are buttons, some of these are buttons that come out of the box for World Docs. Some of them are buttons I've added. For instance, I don't think World Docs GX4 these days comes out of the box with the copy and move button here. You know, that at the last install I did, those had to be added for users. But anything that you can do to a document, you can see by right-clicking, and sometimes what you want to do to it is not immediately accessible, and you have to go to this More tab. You can also do through the menus. We can move and copy and check in and check out and delete, and much of this stuff is listed right here in these menus. Anything that you can do with a right-click, you can do with a menu option, and there's a button for it. Obviously, if they put all the buttons on the button bar would be wider than the screen. So they don't do that. Instead, what they do is they give you the option to edit and add and remove and move around buttons to your heart's content. So let's say that I don't want this copy button here. All I have to do is right-click on it and take it out. So if there's a button in here that you just don't want to be a button because you'd rather access that functionality through the menu or through here, and you don't want to give up the valuable button bar real estate, you can simply right-click and remove the button. You can also move these buttons around. So if I wanted my move button to the right of my delete button, all I have to do is move it to the right. Now you're thinking, okay, why didn't it move to the right? Because there's an indistinguishable separator in there that was the first thing it moved over. So there are also these things called separators that put a little space in, and I think that my separators are not displaying because of some other setting that I've got. But a lot of times these separators are little vertical lines that appear between buttons. And you can add a separator right there. See how that put a separator in but didn't actually put the vertical line in? I think that's a problem that I'm having with my screen. Maybe my separators are colored white, and so that's something to be aware of. Now, if I want to move the move button to the left of delete, don't be confused with the fact that it is the move button and the thing that we're doing is moving the move button. That just happens to be, we're moving the button to the left. We're not, it didn't say that simply because it is the move button. If we right click on the file button or the find button, we still can move it to the left. Now, I took out my copy button. How do I get it back? I append a button. What's the secret? Know where to find it. What do I mean by that? You see these items here? Compare them, if you will, with the menu items that appear along the very top of the screen. File, Edit, List, Search. File, Edit, List, Search. When I go to append a button, I need to know what menu it appears on in order to be able to find it quickly. So if I know that copy appears on the file menu, then when I go to append a button, I want to pull up the file menu and find copy. And there it is. Now, wouldn't it be nice if I could double click it and drag it over there? I can't. So watch this. Oops. Yeah, no, I actually double clicked it and caused it to want to copy that file. I move it to the left. And this is the thing I hate most. I move it to the left. And I'm not going to bore you with this. I'm going to do it one more time. But if I want to do this all the way over here, I have to just keep moving to the left, moving to the left, moving to the left, moving to the left until I get to the right position. Okay. Now, one other thing to know about this button bar and how to manage it is that you can also change the button text and icon and font. Now the text and font, Mary Jo also showed you, you can go in through display and get to the text and font that way. But I can also change the icon. And sometimes people don't like the icons that are there. They find something on this list that is more meaningful to them. So if I wanted categories to be this button here, all I have to do is say, bam, and now categories looks like that. Now here's the kicker. How do I get it back to the way it was? How do I remember what it was? Well, one of the options is when you go to change icon is to restore the default. Because I would never remember what it was before, and now it's at the default. So I can right click on an icon. I can go to change button and icon, and I can choose from the 5 pages of icons. Look, all the country's flags. Well, that alone is going to take up a lot of space. Some weird stuff. There's this guy. This is remember Clippy from Microsoft Word? This is his retirement gig. He's now an icon in World Docs. Okay. When I retire, I want to be a greeter at Walmart. When Clippy retired, he became an icon in World Docs. Okay. So there are a lot of different things you can change it to. Don't get too carried away, because if you change all your icons to be something different and then somebody else has to sit at your desk, that probably will create a problem. But for those who like to express their individuality, it's kind of cool to change your icons around on your button bar. So that's it. How to add buttons, how to remove buttons, how to move them right and left, how to add those separators, even though you can't see them on my screen, but they can be helpful. If we had a line between move and to the right of delete, and then we had a copy in the middle, those would be the 3 buttons that we're moving, copying, and deleting, have to do with moving or deleting documents. And so it's kind of nice to have separators around them. That's all I got. And so now we move on to next month's topics, and I kind of gave up one. Categories and multiples, and Mary Jo is going to cover that. If you've worked with categories, which are ways to tag documents with certain tags, if you will, or categories, then you know that there are tricks, and maybe you don't know what the tricks are, but you know that there are tricks to tagging multiple documents at the same time, or adding one and then having it apply to multiple documents at the same time. Mary Jo is going to kind of clear up some of the confusion with the latest release GX4 in what you can and cannot do in working with multiples and categories. I am going to talk about something that was just added in the latest update to GX4, a change in how they dealt with the drop boxes, drop folders in Outlook. I have some over here, and these folders are created automatically. I'm going to talk about how they've changed the naming conventions and how it has literally changed my life in how I drop emails into those frequently used matters. Okay, I won't give you any more hints now, but let's just say it changed my life, and I'm a different person now because of it. Okay, it wouldn't be, of course, a complete visit to a World Docs virtual user group meeting without us taking you to the website, attorneycomputersystems.com, with an emphasis on that last S in the word systems, and explaining that if you click on videos or hover over videos, you will find all of our live events, 3 virtual user group meetings, 1 for tabs, 1 for Practice Master, 1 for World Docs, plus my monthly Coffee Pot webinars. Those are our 4 live events, and we also, I'll talk about them in a minute, we also have 2 pre-recorded event titles, the eBytes video series and the Paul and Mary Jo show. But if you click on a live event, like the World Docs virtual user group meeting, you will get to a page where you can register for the next event. This is currently set to register for today's event, but in about a half an hour that'll change, and giving you links to actually click on, giving you a description of what the event is going to be about. And then as you scroll down, you will find every pre-recorded version that we ever recorded. So we take the live events and we record them and we put them on the website. So you can always go back and see something again, or if you happen to miss one, you can see it. Or if you're looking for something, you may find it in a 2-year-old World Docs virtual user group meeting. You will also have the ability to search for something like categories. And so here's something about changes in categories and dealing with GX4. So you can type a word here and search, or you can simply browse. And finally, these pre-recorded titles, the eBytes video series, Mary Jo records 3 of these each month, 1 for tabs, 1 for Practice Master, 1 for World Docs. They are short 3 or 4 minute videos that take a very succinct topic and explain it in detail. And then we also have the longer format Paul and Mary Jo show. We record 1 of these each month, and Mary Jo or myself will take a topic that's broader in nature and spend 10, 15, sometimes 20 minutes explaining it in great detail. So take advantage of all this video content. It's there for you to use 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Except for every 4 years, we get an extra day. Is that how it works, Mary Jo? So 365 and a quarter days a year. That's it for today. Everybody have a good rest of the day, good rest of the month, and we will see you next month. Thanks much.